Hi everyone. I wanted to say thank you so much for your focus last night in class, and just to create this video to kind of go through what happened last night and then what our expectations are for the next week. So I'm going to start out with just one thing about last night. Let me see, where did you go? The resilience letter. So, this is your opportunity to just write a letter to yourself about your experience in this class, what you hope that you'll remember, and what you want to kind of take with you. So, I gave you this week to really think about like how these things are, these things that you're learning in this class around restorative practices, around trauma-informed practices, will really impact you as a teacher in the future. So I'm going to take my video off now, and then I'll just get down to business. Okay, so that's one thing. The second thing is the what's due. And remember, you're going to read one of these chapters, only one of them, and you can choose which one really speaks to you. And then you're on the last night of class, you're going to share out in your small group classes which one you chose, and how you've thought about it, or maybe if you're in the classroom, how you tried it out, or that type of thing. Just another reminder, the guest speaker is a Zoom session, so this is the link. It's also on the syllabus. There's a link there as well. I wanted to also take some time to kind of bring you up to where we are with the SSTs. So next week, the expectation is that you're bringing in these 4 sections of your of the data that you've been collecting over the last 3 weeks. So just a reminder, you had to complete a student-centered functional behavior assessment last time we had an SST. We call it the HBAR, this whole project, the Holistic Behavior Assessment Report. But this has all been broken up into these different SSTs. So you described what you had done before, the intervention, the SEL, and the data progressing. Then you looked at like the classroom. So for example, maybe when you were doing the classroom climate, you realized, I actually don't know, how well they do or why they are doing poorly in one of the areas. I think I need to investigate that more. So maybe you think, well, I need to go talk to the teacher again. Or maybe you were doing the quality of life section and you realized, I actually don't know what successful places and activities at home and in the community the student is having. And so maybe you needed to go back and talk to the student or talk to the parent or the social worker or whomever. Or maybe you needed to find out more about one of the communication pieces or the medical information. Or you've taken some more time to really think about the preliminary hunches. So this part is that before you decide this is the function of a behavior, you have to make some guesses and really look at it and see like, hey, is this right? Talk to a few people, for example. So this section here, you were asked to, say what the trigger is, what the target behavior is, the consequence of that behavior, and then what you think might be the purpose or the function of the behavior. And then that was just what you were doing at that meeting time. And hopefully you've been thinking about that same A as an antecedent behavior and consequence, steps for them. So you were asked to do 4 things over the next 3 weeks from that SST to the next one. One, if you needed to go interview that teacher or the parent or the student, that you write that down and then you tell, what are you going to ask or what, do the little narrative about that interview. And then about what you heard in the interview. Then you're going to tell us about your intervention. Did you keep it the same or did you change it in some way? Did you find a new one? And then talk about the implementation plan for that 3 weeks. And then the data collection, you needed to continue to collect data. So maybe you did ABC checklist before and you realized I should have done an interval. It was scatter or a scatter plot. So then you changed your data collection procedures. And so then you're going to upload the data collection that you've done over the last 3 weeks. And finally, the FBA. So that's this part right here, is the preliminary hunches. And, is there anything else that you need to know to determine if your current hunches about the antecedent consequence and purpose of the behavior are accurate? And then how are you going to do that? So you would just write that up. So when you come back to the meeting, you've got all of these materials, and you've turned them in ahead of time. So it's just 10 points for each one. 10 points for the interview, intervention, data collection, and FBA. Then when you get to SST number 3, which is what we're doing next week, that's where we're really coming up with a behavior plan. And you're also doing the reflection. So you're going to talk about the strengths, you're going to talk about the behavior, you're going to talk about the antecedent behavior and consequence. So this is your revised hunches. And then you're going to talk about a behavior hypothesis statement. So you think that the behavior is a function of whatever you think. And then you're going to talk about the interventions and supports that help change the behavior. So what's the replacement behavior, and what are the alternative skills that you're responding to? We have an outline of goals. So you're going to go back to the IEP goals, or MTSS or 504 goals, and we gave you a sentence frame for that. And then you're going to go in and you're going to think about, okay, if this is our plan, then what do we need to do to make sure that this is successful? So we've got, maybe you need to buy some sort of material, or create some sort of material, or adapt one. Maybe you need to communicate with others about the plan. Maybe you need to develop a teaching plan for the replacement skills or behavior, or change a schedule, or give training to somebody at the school site, or come up with a system for monitoring a little bit more closely, create a schedule for team meetings. You're going to look and see how any sort of considerations to make sure that the plan is implemented. And so you're going to go through exactly what that's going to look like. And then there's your critical reflection. And this is really where you get to the nitty-gritty of what you learned about setting up a classroom, setting up a behavior or classroom management system, and also helping with an individual student who you're concerned about. Okay, and then this should be, we're giving you extra time to work on this because this should be very thoughtful. So now when you go down to your behavior assessment report description, you can see the rubric. Now we've only been turning in, the different documents, which you've gotten. There was 17 full documents that you get all in all from this class. So that's 170 points. And then you will also be, doing the meeting notes, and then how you reflect on the implementation and progress monitoring of the PBIS, how you explicitly taught and thought about the social emotional learning skill, and then also how you did within the SSTs. And by the way, these are all the different things that you would want to mention if you were in a job interview. That you do data-driven decision making, that you know how to solve interpersonal group challenges, that you look at strength-based solutions, you share progress, all of those pieces. And then you're going to talk about, or we're also going to take a look at your reflection and see if you've identified implications for setting up your classroom environment. So were you able to really connect this HABAR to what you'll need to do in order to make sure that your classroom is successful. And then of course the communication with colleagues, especially around progress monitoring. So that's how you're going to get your full amount of points. It's 250 for the HABAR. So that's next week. And then just to kind of remind us again, the 13th is on Zoom. You'll be reading Dr. Aceves' article, and then she'll be talking along with a lawyer who will be telling us about writing legal IEPs. So, and then we will break into our family resource meeting. So anyway, I hope you are having a great day, and if you have any questions, as always, please reach out.